I am so tired of just surviving every day on this earth and not enjoying my experience and not just having a good time and not just creating and being free. I'm just so sick of it. Tired of this rat race called life that we were just thrown into. I am so tired of it. And personally, I believe like we were never meant to live this way. Even though we've been programmed to follow these rules and this way of life our entire life since we were little kids, I just don't believe that this is how we were meant to live. Like, I think there are better ways. And unfortunately, capitalism has taken over the world and we are forced to live by that way. Or else, if you don't follow the rules, then you're the odd one out. We rely on the systems that have been built now. Honestly, every single one of us were born to create, and here we are, forced to survive.
We all end up just caring too much about everything that does not matter. When you truly get to this level of not caring, it's so freeing. Everything is on the table when it comes to this podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of the I Don't Give a Care podcast. I'm your host, Jessie. I haven't posted in the last few weeks, which kind of sucks because I made it to 10 episodes, and then the last few weeks I just didn't make an episode, and I'm really sad about that. But I did have a pretty busy month and just shit came up. Like, I started a new job. I also still freelance on the side. Just a lot of changes have been happening, and it kind of got in the way of my creativity. And I hate that because, well, that's exactly why I chose to do this episode today, because I feel like this always happens with me. I get into a creative flow. I'm like creating. I'm having so much fun with it. I'm like in my zone. I'm like literally doing what I feel like I'm meant to do. And then, oh, that's right, bills are coming up. I need to make money. Just everyday things in life that happen and they take your attention and your focus away from what you should be doing. And then it just becomes this horrible cycle. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, with how I believe that we're all creators. We're all born to create. But unfortunately, because of our system, because of capitalism, we are forced to survive. So for today's episode, I usually have a script to at least keep me on track, and I have points and everything. Today I'm just gonna wing it, so I'm really hoping I don't ramble too much, but I'm already rambling and I'm like not even 5 minutes in. So just stay with me, but I don't think this episode should have too much structure, because this episode is actually about how we have too much structure as humans to begin with and how it takes away from our creativity. So I feel like it'd be kind of ironic to structure my episode so perfectly with all these points and to follow a script to stay on track, when that's literally what I'm talking about that happens in life, is that we try to follow the script in life, we try to stay on track, we try not to go off the track, and then like life isn't perfect like that. And that's exactly what I'm going to do for this episode. I'm going to just say what comes to my mind, because I have a lot coming to my mind right now and a lot of thoughts about this shit. So just stay with me. So let's get into it. So I feel like for a while, for a few years now, my life has been going up and down, mostly down, but I've still stayed quite positive, I'd say. So my mind awakened after my first psychedelic experience, and I've never experienced anything like that before. My first psychedelic experience was in 2019. This was probably my first spiritual awakening, I would say. And with psychedelics, you basically remember why we're here. You remember the purpose of life, if there even is a purpose. But when you're on psychedelics, you find that purpose. You know your why. You remember. You just remember. So then after what happened with my psychedelic experience, I realized like what I wanted in my life before, what my goals were before that I thought I wanted, were not at all what I wanted. And what I realized on psychedelics was that I really wanted to travel and see the world. I realized I wanted to make a difference. I realized I wanted to help people. And I realized we're all spiritually connected. I just wanted to grow my spirituality and continue growing that. After that, I was like, wow, like I started learning about meditation, vibrations, frequencies, affirmations, subliminals, manifesting, how all these things exist and they work. Like science can prove manifestation, science can prove subliminals, frequencies, all of these things. And I just thought it was mind blowing because I'm like, wow, like I'm living in this 3D world and there's so much more to it that we don't even understand. And I'm just following all these rules, working a 9 to 5, paying these bills, struggling paying these bills, not following my dreams and not traveling the world. For what? When there's literally a cheat code to life. Like there are ways to manipulate your world and to skip all of this bullshit. But what happens is that for so long we've been programmed in our mind that this is the only way, that you have to work hard to make a lot of money, that you have to work hard to reach your dreams. But why? Why do you have to work hard? Why can't making money be easy? It can be. That's the great part. And that's what I've learned through manifestation. And it is possible, but you do have to really work hard at programming your mind. You don't necessarily have to work hard in real life to reach your goals, but you do have to like unlearn all of those things that you've learned your whole life. So let's go back to when we were kids. Where does this all start? Because I did say, and the title of this podcast is going to be how I believe we were born to create, but we're forced to survive. We were all brought into this world without any knowledge, without any say, without any consent. We were just put onto this earth and immediately just put into this system. I mean, we're given some grace when we're little kids and we get to actually be a kid. And I believe when we become adults and we're like trying to find ourselves again, it's always bringing us back to our child version of ourselves, our inner child. That's why they always say, find your inner child, what little you would have done. And that's to say if you did have a good childhood. Obviously, not everybody has a good childhood, but I mean, naturally, most children are very creative. They're childlike, they get to play. They're all about colors. They're all about running around, dancing, playing. Their imaginations are huge. And it's amazing because as humans, like you would think that's what life is supposed to be about, right? The possibilities are endless. Like as a child, just remember how you were as a kid. Like literally anything you could think of, anything you want to do, you would just do it. Then we get sent to school. And that's when it all begins. And listen, I'm not against school, but I do believe that they are programming us to be put into the system after school. And as soon as we get put into these schools and these systems, they immediately teach us about discipline and just authority and never going off the path that we're taught. Think about it. When you're a kid, they tell you you can't chew gum in class. You have to raise your hand to speak. You have to sit in one place for 8 hours a day, which is just not normal. Like nobody should be sitting in one spot for 8 hours a day, whether you're a child in school or whether you're an adult at a 9 to 5 job. It sucks because I don't think we were meant to follow such strict routines and order and just these ways of life. Like we were meant to have more freedom and flow and not have so many rules. We were meant to like express ourselves. And yes, I do think that like school also embraces your creativity. Like I remember doing so many creative projects and learning how to collaborate with people, and it taught you so much about friendship and meeting new people. But I do think once you get older, like and when you're in high school and everything, you have to start picking electives and the classes you want to take. And then as young as 15, I believe, you have to start planning your entire future, what jobs you want to do. My class was called Civics and Careers, and the jobs I said I wanted to do in that class was a crime scene investigator because I liked watching CSI, and I'm like, what? Why would I think that would be a job for me? But it's just funny. Anyways, that or a marine biologist because I like dolphins. But that just goes to show, like, at that age, I was just picking things that I liked, not that I would actually want to do. And it's funny because when you think of when you're a kid, they start programming us as soon as we're like little, like 5 years old. Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do when you grow up? And it's like, why are we so focused on growing up instead of just being a child, just existing, like just being before we have to grow up and before we have to pay these bills and before we have to be put into the system? And as a kid, it sounds so fun and cool. You're like, oh, I want to be a firefighter. Oh, I want to be a doctor. Because it's sold to you in a way that it's like you get to choose to do this for fun and almost like and you get to help people. And it just seems so much cooler to you as a child when you're like, yeah, I want to do that. But you're not realizing that being a child and being a kid and not having to do a job is like the ultimate dream. And obviously, we do need a lot of these jobs in our society. Like, we do need a lot of these jobs, or our system would not keep going. That's the thing. Like, the reason we have a system is because we've created it, and we've created these specific jobs for the system. But I do believe that this system has kind of overtaken our creative abilities. And I do believe that all of us have creative abilities. We are all creative at our core. And you may be saying or thinking, I'm not creative at all. Like, I'm literally like into math. I do this and that. Like, I'm not creative. I'm analytical. I'm all about numbers. I don't do this. I don't do that. I don't paint. No, there are a million ways to be creative, first of all. Like, it's not just your painters, it's not just photographers, it's not just musicians. It can be so many things. Like, being creative literally means to think outside the box. So you can think outside the box for a million different things. Like, creativity comes with in all types of forms, and we need it in like every job, every career, every profession. But what I've noticed in a lot of the jobs now, they take away that creativity. They take away your free will to think, to say, and to do anything that you want, because it's all just laid out for you. This is what you need to do, this, and that's it. Don't try to think outside the box. Don't try to be different. That's only for people higher up than you, and you need to work your way up if you want to be able to be creative and think outside the box. That's what I've gathered from a lot of these jobs. And I don't know whether it's just because I've had a psychedelic experience and it's made me think about all these things, or whether it's because I have experience with loss. And so now my view about life is just a little bit different. I'm like, you know what? Life isn't that serious. We need to be more creative. We need to play. We need to like just do more fun things. We need to act like our childlike self again. We need to act like kids again. Or whether it's just because I'm waking up because like things have gotten out of hand. Like, there's no way it was this bad before. But then I look around and I see everybody working their jobs, probably mostly because they have to. But I've had these conversations with people and they just, like, it's just a fact to them that they have to do this. They don't question the way things are. And it just got me thinking, like, why aren't we questioning these things? Why aren't we talking about all these things? Why are more of us not waking up? Why are more of us not having an existential crisis? And obviously, I'm having an existential crisis. I've been having one for a few years. I'll still be having one until I'm off in Costa Rica living my best life off grid or something. But for now, as long as I'm in the system, I'm going to be questioning it, and I'm going to be having this existential crisis because it just does not sit right with me. It hasn't for a long time. For a while, I was okay with following the rules because I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is what everybody does. Like, I guess we have to. We don't have a choice, right? No, we do have a choice. We really do have a choice. But the system, capitalism, the elites, the people that are billionaires that could literally end world hunger and every issue we have on the earth, they want you to believe that we can't change, that there's no other option. But there is, guys, there is. And this just brings me to, why aren't more of us having an existential crisis? We need to be questioning these things, or else nothing is going to change. Like, for one, why do we have to pay for water? Why do we have to pay for food? Like, because these are so ingrained in our minds that it's just so normalized that we have to pay for water, that we have to pay for food. People are like, what do you mean? Like, what? You just want food for free? Like, you just expect food for free? It's like, you just expect to travel the world and experience the world? It's like, yeah, like, we're humans. Like, why do you think we were brought to this earth, to this world? Why are we not questioning that? Why are more people not asking that question? You actually think you were brought to this world to just sit around at a 9-to-5 job, stuck in a desk, not to see the world, not to have money for food and for water? Like, what? Like, just think about that. Think about how ridiculous that sounds. Like, you know what I mean? And then when you die, if you're lucky, you'll make it to 80 years old. And what? You spent most of your life up until your retirement age of like 65. So what? You spent most of your life working for a job that got you nowhere, Maybe it got you somewhere. Maybe you got a few promotions. Maybe you made your way up to the top. But for what though? Like you got a nice retirement plan at 65 and then what? You got 15 years to enjoy it when you're no longer young and able to enjoy it? You know what I mean? Like, what are we working towards? Like, there's nothing to work towards anymore because of the state of our world right now. Like, gas is so expensive, everything is so expensive, and now AI is taking over the world. Like, just think about that. I just find this all so crazy because it's like we were never meant to live like this. And obviously, there have been a lot of improvements since like 50 years ago, but I think a lot more has gone wrong. So, this brings me back to how we were born to create and forced to survive. So, personally, what I believe is that we all come from the same source, whatever you want to believe that is, like whatever you think that is. I believe it's God, the universe, but I believe we all come from that same source, right? So, when we all come from the same source, we all break off into little different pieces. We're all fragments of the same source. A lot of us think the same, but we're also different. Like, we're all unique versions of the same source, if that makes sense. And if we come from something that created us, we have creation inside of us, and we are meant to create just like we were created so we can go back to our source. That is why I believe we're all meant to create. I believe we're all meant to be like kids just frolicking in the fields, enjoying what the world has to offer, because at the end of the day, we are not on this earth for very long. Like, it's a blip in our timeline. We might as well enjoy it while we're here, not working away our lives, fucking paying off bills. We are only here for a short amount of time, so we need to be enjoying it. We need to be like living it. We need to see the world. We need to experience it. We need to be doing all these things. Like, we were all put here without our consent, immediately thrown into the system, and then we're told, okay, yep, you got to pay taxes, you got to pay for water, you got to pay for food, you have to go to school, you have to get a good job, you have to work your life away. And unless you're born into wealth and you're rich and you have a trust fund, you have to do this. You have to do these things. You have to work that 9 to 5. You have to pay for water and food. Unless you decide, okay, I don't want to be part of the system. I'm going to go live off grid. I'm going to find my own food, my own water, all of these things. But it is really fucking hard to do that unless you have a community. That's the problem. Like, the system kind of strips us of our community and our choice to do those things. Because years ago, we were all so community-based instead of just so self-centered and all about ourselves and grinding to make the most money and just serve ourselves. Like, we're all in survival mode, and so obviously we're going to be looking out for ourselves. Like, we have to. Like, things are so expensive, but obviously now in our society we all value like independence, and we value convenience too. So what, we can just order food to our door with the click of a button. Everything has changed, but that is the price we have to pay now for convenience, for having all these different things now, for having luxuries that we honestly don't need. We're basically giving up all the beautiful things about life, like creativity, traveling, community, free thinking, all these things. We're giving it up just for this system that we've created that we don't even like living in, but we've given up all of these beautiful things for that because we were forced to. Like, we don't even have a choice. And you know what sucks is that when we're all in this constant state of survival mode, it makes it really hard to have friendships and relationships and community. And on top of that, when you're in this constant state of survival mode and worrying how you're going to pay your bills, it makes it so hard to be creative and to value your dreams and to get out of this rat race. To bring this back to my problem I've been having lately, I feel like every time I'm on a roll with my creativity, I have all these things flowing in my mind and I'm actually following them, because that takes a lot of effort for me, is to actually go through with my creative ideas instead of letting them just sit on my phone or my laptop or in my brain. Once I actually go through with following a lot of my dreams or passions or ideas, I get sucked back into the real world because bills are due, I need money, I have to go to a job, I have to worry about this and that. And it's just exhausting. It is so exhausting. And it's like my creativity and creating is the one thing that brings me back to life. And when I feel too exhausted from trying to survive everyday life to even go after that, that's a problem. I just find it sad. I wonder sometimes, like, How many creative passions do we just sweep under the rug because we are forced to survive in this world? When you're in survival mode and you're stressed all the time, it takes over your mind. It takes over your creativity, and that's all you can think about and focus on. So I know I just did a huge rant about everything that's wrong with how I think we're born to create, but we're forced to survive, and everything that's wrong with our society and capitalism and the system we're forced to be a part of. So where do we go from here? Like, what do we do? I think the number one thing is for more of us to just acknowledge that there's a problem instead of just turning a blind eye, because we do have a problem and it is not normal to live life like this. As soon as more of us start to wake up to that and be like, okay, it's not normal that we have to pay for basic necessities in life. It's not normal that we spend 80% of our life at work and only have 2 days to ourselves to actually see our family and friends and take care of ourselves. It is not normal. And as soon as we all start realizing that it's not normal and just kind of wake up to this facade that we're all living, the more that will change eventually. Like, it will gradually change, and I know it will take time, because why are we living like this? Like, be for real. Why are we living like this? Why are we letting gas prices get so high? Why are we paying $100 for groceries for a few days worth of groceries? Like, this is ridiculous. Another thing we can do is to stay creative and keep going after your dreams even when you're exhausted. And I know that's damn hard to do, especially when you're literally just exhausted from surviving. But whether it's just the smallest little thing that you can do, or if it's a hobby or anything that you can think of to express your creativity, then do it. Because the more we keep trying to suppress those natural urges to be creative, the more we're going to feel like these little rats trapped in the rat race. We need to be creative, whether that's cooking, whether it's drawing or scrapbooking or photography, anything you can think of, do it, because that is what makes us human. Our creativity is what makes us human. Not working at these shitty 9-to-5 jobs that turn us into mindless zombies. And yes, I do believe that these jobs are needed. A lot of them are needed. Do they need to take up most of our lives though? No, they do not. Do they need to be underpaying us compared to what we need to pay just to survive? No. Stop suppressing that part of yourself. Do things for your inner child and that you used to do when you were a child. Like, do those things. And going back to what I was talking about from my spiritual awakening, I learned about so many different things and concepts like manifesting, subliminals, affirmations, and all of these things truly work. So we need to use these to our advantage. So that's another thing, is not only being creative, but also using all of these things to change our realities. You can literally jump into a new timeline and quantum leap through using these methods, through listening to the right frequencies, to listening to high vibrational music, and to speaking only positive affirmations to yourself and about your life, to watching happy and positive content instead of sad and content that just makes you feel like shit, to be honest. So just be careful about what you're consuming and make sure it's positive and leading you onto the right path, because all of that stuff matters. I think these are all the ways that we can kind of get out of this rat race, our system, and just realize and remember we are all here to create. Whatever that looks like for you, we are born to create and we were put here to create. Okay, I rambled a lot this episode. I hope what I said made sense. I know I went into like a million different directions, but these are the things that I think about all the time, and I think it's a reason why I just feel so exhausted and down about life. Sometimes it's because I'm so awakened by all these things. I am having a full-on existential crisis, if I'm being quite honest. At the same time, I am happy to be as awake as I am. But it can be lonely being this awake, and it can be kind of isolating being this awake and sad, because it's like, does anyone else feel this way? Does anyone think the way that I do? Are we going to be stuck like this forever? Sometimes just being oblivious and naive is better, instead of constantly thinking about how we're all doomed or the system we're living in, and just kind of making the most out of your day-to-day life. I also heard some tips on how to get yourself out of the system and how every day feels the same is by adding novelty to your life. And how do you add novelty to your life? by doing new things. So I follow this girl and she started doing like a challenge for herself where every single week she would do something out of her comfort zone, a new experience every week, whether that was like going to a cafe and painting or trying something new with a friend. Doing something like that every week will actually bring more happiness to your life and just kind of spark our creativity and like bring our fun, creative, childlike self out. So just add more novelty to your life and also just be grateful for what you have in your life and the fact that you even can have food and water and a place to live, even though we unfortunately do have to overpay for all of these things. Still be grateful that we even get the option to have these things, because there's a lot of people in the world that don't get to have these things. So it's also just about reframing your thoughts and changing your perspective, and instead of thinking so negative about all these things, because that is my problem, is I get so stuck in like, oh, I wish things were this way and not this way. And none of it matters, because this is what the reality we have to live in right now. So until you change your reality, be grateful for what you have and how you're living, and just change your experience yourself by adding new things into your life and being more creative, because we all choose our reality and can change our reality. Not working full time has given me a lot more time to like reflect on like what I'm doing with my life and like how I've been living my life on a day-to-day basis and how I have been living it in the past. Like it's opened my eyes a lot and shown me like I can choose better for my future, and I want better and I want different for my future. I hope you feel inspired to create something, whatever that looks like for you. Kind of do things that just bring you out of the box that we're so confined in so much of our lives, and just do new things and new experiences to get you out of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next week. I'll promise not to miss more weeks again, but you know what? Life happens and we can't be too hard on ourselves. So on Wednesdays, we don't give a care. Bye.